This video is brought to you by the Disc Golf Nerd Patreon support team. Go to patreon.com/discgolfnerd. What's up, guys? Welcome to my 2020 in the bag. Even though disc golf is essentially shut down here in the Portland area right now, I have been playing a bunch of golf leading up into this whole situation, and also with the weather being quite mild here in Portland, I played a bunch over the fall and the winter as well. So no real huge worry about it. I missed disc golf already, but it'll be there waiting for us on the other side of this thing if we're lucky enough to see it through to that. And that's kind of my focus right now. I'm just being thankful for the rounds that I have played, all the great times I've spent out there on the course, and looking forward to getting back out there if I'm lucky enough to do so. If that's the case, this is what I'll be throwing once it's time to kind of get back out there on the course. I have played a ton of golf, though, leading into this whole situation. Me and Andy and James in particular got out for a ton of rounds. You can go check out my Instagram if you want to see a lot of those rounds and pictures of the different courses and different clips that have different things that happened during those rounds and all that kind of fun stuff. It's all there. Also, we just recently recorded a podcast and we talked about kind of the philosophy of how we set up our bags. Andy has a very simple layered system with very, very few molds. James is on the complete other end of the spectrum where he has a bunch of different molds. I'm somewhere in the middle, and we kind of discuss the different points of that. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, you can check that out. Just look for the Disc Golf Nerd Plastic Podcast. I believe it's episode 68. And for newer viewers of the channel, you can basically assume that all the discs I throw in my bag have some type of review that you can check out here on the channel if you want more information about any of these specific discs. So I'm the kind of guy who I basically set up my bag based on where I'm going. I don't have a large tournament bag stuffed full of everything I could need. I don't just pick it up and walk out the door every time I go play a round of golf. I set up my bag based on where I'm going, the conditions, and all that kind of stuff. A lot of different factors go into it. If I'm going to play a really hilly, wooded course that's kind of rugged and up and down a lot of hills, I'll be carrying my Dynamic Disc Trooper bag, and I'll probably carry a more simplified loadout to keep the weight as light as possible to kind of get myself up and down those hills without wasting too much energy. If I'm playing a open course like Timber Park or Vance Park or somewhere really flat and relatively open, I'll bring my Zuka cart with me. You can see how I set up my Zuka cart on a separate video as well here on the channel. And then I can carry a little bit more gear with me if I'm playing somewhere with the cart. But I also will switch up the discs I carry based on where I'm going. If I'm playing a shorter course, I'll probably carry more putters for extra throws off the tee in case I lose a magnet. You know, I really need to rely on my magnets on those shorter wooded courses, so I'll have extra ones in case I lose one. And then if I'm playing a longer course like a Milo MacGyver or something, I'm sure to have my full loadout of Thrashers to make sure that I can be covered on all the different distance lines that I need out there in the course. So that's kind of my philosophy in a nutshell. So this is not, I will definitely never have all of this stuff with me. I don't have enough room for it. I could probably fit all these in my Prodigy bag, but I'm very unlikely to ever really do so. I don't really need that many discs. I've been kind of paring things down a little bit over the last few years. I do have more molds in this particular bag than I did in my previous in the bag video, just because I found that I was trying to really limit it and just go super layering, and I liked it in some ways, but I think I need a balance between layering and also having a good selection of molds to cover me on different shots, because some discs just fly really well for a particular shot, and I want to make use of that. So usually I try to keep these in the bag videos pretty short, or I try to keep them short and they still go long. I'm not going to restrain myself this time. We're going deep. We're going to take a look at all this stuff, and it's going to take as long as it's going to take. You guys probably aren't doing much anyway if you're watching this shortly after it comes out. So let's start it off where we usually do, and that's with the magnets. I'm putting with the Jawbreaker magnet. This is a brand new one that I just put in the bag. It's a little bit lighter weight. I think it's like 170 to 172, but it's working out just fine. And I find that I really like the Jawbreaker magnets when they're almost brand new. Now, I can get away with quite a while before they really start to get beat to the point where I don't trust them anymore. But I think all the purple ones I have, I just don't feel confident with them anymore. It's just been kind of a struggle, to be honest, this whole time. Over the last couple months of playing, my putting has not been very strong. This one I just put in the bag for my last round, actually, and it seemed to do really well. And I'm kind of just trying to start over like a clean slate and see if I can build some more confidence in this thing. I strayed away from the magnet a little bit. I tried using the steadies. I tried using the link inside the circle with mixed results. But I think the Jawbreaker magnets still work really well for me when I'm not messing it up. So I figured if I can just kind of dial it in a little bit, make sure I'm feeling confident in throwing this disc, I think I'll be in good shape. So that's what I'm putting with right now. And then I have two pretty beat old 4-chain magnets. This one's quite warped. This one is the one I'm throwing all the time. This thing has become one of my favorite discs of all time. I absolutely love this. This yellow one is so money. I love this thing. It's super beat. As you can see, it's real beat, it's real warped. I might do a video showing you guys all my magnets again, just for fun. I might actually shoot that right after this, but this one, I'm throwing it so much, and it's just really great. It's super straight. It will turn, it will hyzer flip up to a laser straight. I can throw a soft hyzer, go for it shots, downhill drives, short drives. The magnets have just always been my favorite disc, and these old beat up 4-chains are great. I actually didn't used to like the 4-chain ones. I had a few of these in the past and they didn't quite do exactly the same thing as my 3-chain, like this one that I have on the wall behind me here. That's my original one. But I've really grown to love these. I got these for a combined total of like $8 at the Disc Golf Depot as well, out of the used rack, and they're worth their weight in gold as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely love the magnets. Those are a staple, not going anywhere, and I have all three of those pretty much in my bag at all times. Moving on to one of my most trusted discs of all time, and it is the disc I will go to for all of my wide open approaches that I want to play the really consistent hyzer shot into the basket, and that is the Caltrup. I love this disc because I can throw it as hard as I want to. It will not flip over ever. It'll just fly really straight. As long as I don't short arm it, it will just go all the way out to the basket, fade right to it, dig and sit, and it's phenomenal for that. So if you want a disc that really takes all the guesswork out of those open approaches, something like a Caltrup is absolutely perfect. It's not a meat hook where it just wants to really dive to the ground. It will hold straight for quite a while, up to speed, but always has that consistent fade that you can play for. And if you throw it a little nose up or you throw it soft, it'll behave quite overstable and just hyzer straight to the basket and sit. So I love this disc for that. It's basically what I'm throwing it for. I also have a Opto one. I have not been carrying this one very often, but if I'm playing a shorter course, this might come with me because I really like to throw this one off the tee whenever possible, and then I can use my yellow softy just for layups and approaches more of the time, and then this one is more of a tee shot disc. I've aced with both of them on short shots, but I really like this one for throwing. Final putter in the bag is one that I really like. I've really grown to trust and enjoy throwing this disc a lot. It is the Link by Discmania. This is made by Latitude 64, so it has that great trilogy feel to the plastic that I really like. The Exo soft plastic is basically the same as like a blend from DD or Latitude medium plastic, so it's extremely grippy and kind of rubbery to the touch, but it is still firm enough that it's not floppy in your hand, but it still lands soft and kind of digs and sits where it lands. This thing is tremendous. It's extremely neutral, and I absolutely love this disc. I can just throw it on any angle, and I'm sure it's going to hold that angle throughout the flight. So I really love this thing for just point and shoot, whatever angle I want it to fly on. I just give it that angle, it'll hold it throughout the flight, and it's a really consistent flyer. And I've been really enjoying this thing for some of my approach shots because I can throw it flatter than a magnet, and I don't have to worry about it kind of dialing in the flip. You know, with a magnet, I kind of started on hyzer and I want it to flip up and fly. This thing, I can just throw it flat and level straight across my chest, and it will just hold that dead straight at the basket. So I really like this thing for approaches, kind of some of my longer approaches, because I feel more confident throwing this than the magnets. If I want it to hold flat and not ride over or turn over or anything, this thing works really well for that, and it is tremendous off the tee. One of the best neutral throwing putters I've used. I love the Link. That is a phenomenal disc. I'd highly recommend you guys check out. The only Discmania disc to ever actually break into my bag. Moving on to mid-ranges, I only have 4 mid-ranges that I've been carrying for most rounds, and I am only using 3 different molds right now. The newest one to the bag is the Fuse. I love the Fuse. I got this thing to review and just to check out because I heard so much about it over last year with Clemens and other trilogy players kind of really liking the Fuse, and it's one of those discs that's been around forever but has kind of kind of pop back up, and people are realizing how good this disc really is. It's kind of one of those hidden gems that's been around forever, but you know, sometimes you're more likely to throw something new, some kind of a new mold that's just hit the market, and some of these old ones are just still really tremendous and haven't really been matched in certain ways. The Fuse has incredible glide. It's extremely straight to neutral. It doesn't really want to fly on a sharp hyzer by any means, but that's not what I'm throwing it for. If I want it to go absolute laser beam straight point to point, you don't overpower it, it'll do that. But what I'm using this for 9 times out of 10 is turnovers, and for a turnover mid-range, I really couldn't tell you for sure any disc I've ever tested that holds the line better than this. There are definitely some mid-ranges that are flippier and will turn easier. But once you get this thing on that line, and it's really easy to do, once you get it on that turn, it will hold it in such a beautiful way. It doesn't get down and roll. It doesn't want to cut roll on you. It just really loves to hold a smooth left to right, and you can kind of dial it in for high, longer turnovers, kind of inside, sharp, technical turnovers. It's just really, really effective for anything that goes left to right for me. I'm loving it for that, and if I want it to hold super straight all the way, this thing works great. Love the Fuse. It's probably one of my most recommended mid-ranges for beginners at this point. Even after just throwing it for a short while, I've really fallen in love with that disc. Then, my favorite mid-range of all time, the Gobi. This is the one I've been throwing most often, is this red one right here. I'm throwing this thing so much that I actually haven't even been carrying another one. Most of the time I've been leaving this one at home because I'm kind of sentimentally attached to it, and then I have this one that I'm just throwing as such a workhorse right now. I've thrown so many shots with this thing. It's starting to get a little bit straighter than I want it to be sometimes. Like it started out as a relatively stable Gobi, and it would have a little bit more fade and a little bit sharper flight to it, but this thing has broken in to just a smooth, laser straight flyer. It still has a little bit of fade at the end that I can play for. I'm really loving this thing for any of my kind of standstill, longer standstill approaches. I can just throw it really smooth, and it comes out of the hand, and it just glides on such a beautiful line. Soft, sweet fade in at the end, and really been working super well. I love this disc. I also will be putting a fresh one in the bag. You guys voted on my Gobi video that I posted on which one should go in my bag out of my backup stock, and I am going to end up bagging that double stamp one that I showed you guys. Once I get back out on the course, that'll be with me to test it and see how she's flying. But right now, this red one has been absolute money for the last year or so. I've thrown it countless times, and it's been working super well. Last but not least, for the mid-ranges, I have the Anchor. This is my, it was turmeric dyed, but it's real faint, but you can still see the, obviously you can still see the Punisher dye. It came out pretty good. Pretty happy with that. It's my first ever real stencil dye that I ever did. This thing is just super money. It's actually broken in quite a bit to the point where it's not super overstable anymore, but it's still plenty overstable for me. You know, I don't have a big arm, and I know I can throw this thing as hard as I want to. It won't flip, and it will have a fade at the end of the flight, and it layers quite well with my Gobis and my Fuse. Like that, between those 3 molds, I really can do it all. I may end up putting a fresh Opto Anchor in the bag at some point just to get more stability. I have a Justice, a Moonshine Justice, that may get thrown in the bag at any time for those kind of utility, super overstable shots, because this thing really isn't that beefy anymore. It's like a overstable rock, basically. You know, it's got the big bead on the bottom. It's pretty flat. This blank deco dye is incredibly grippy and feels amazing. It's like a blank matte white gold line plastic. It feels incredible, and I love this thing. And I've been trying to lean on this for more of my short shots as well, because it's so consistent. Kind of a theme with my bag is I'm trying to throw more flat shots, kind of bringing it back to basics and not using quite as much flip up in my game. I'm trying to work on that. It's something I've been focusing on, so I really like this thing for shots where it's relatively short. It's a mid-range, but since it's overstable, I can control it on those shorter shots anyway. Throw it nice and flat, and I don't have to take in the guesswork of throwing a putter, magnet, or anything that I want to kind of flip up. The link works great at a certain range, and then I can kind of step it up to this thing or my Gobis for those nice flat shots. This one just has pretty aggressive fade at the end, and it's a really nice flyer. Anchor is a great throwable overstable mid-range if you guys are looking for an overstable mid in your bag, but you don't want that Justice crazy meat hook type flight. The Anchor is a really great balance where it's plenty overstable for the shots you need it for. It'll fight the wind, but it's still throwable for a kind of lower arm speed player like myself. Okay, getting into drivers. Still a huge fan of the Latitude 64 Fury. This pink one right here is one of my favorite discs of all time. I've gotten some incredible shots out of this thing, got the best ace of my life with this disc, and it's still what I will go to for anything. Maybe downhill that needs to sweep soft to the right, this disc will still do that. Anything that needs to turn over hard, this will be what I use. I use it for some kind of a little bit shorter roller shots as well, and I love this disc. I can also throw it down on a hyzer and really rip it, and it'll pop up, turn over, and hold over as well, so I can throw like a long sweeping turnover with this disc, even starting it on hyzer. Absolutely love this particular Fury. I have an exact backup ready to go if I ever lose this one, but I'm hoping that that never is a problem I need to worry about. I have this gold line one that I really like. It's a little bit more on the stable side of things, but I'm not really carrying it because of the next disc I'm going to show you. I am carrying this beautiful dyed Opto one. It's one of the better dye jobs I've done. It's just a really sick disc. This one flies amazing. It's 174 grams, and this thing is just a laser. I started on hyzer, it flips up straight and will just hold it for forever. It still has a little bit of a fade when it slows down. I can use this for all the same shots as that pink one. I can get it to turn, I can get it to roll and all that stuff, but it's heavier, it's fresher, so I need to give it more angle. But I really could get the job done with just this one, but I like to have that one for all my super flippy shots and this one for all my straight shots. Just laser straight all the way. This thing is awesome. Love that disc. Part of the reason why I'm not throwing that gold line one as much is because I'm back on the Escape and this thing's going nowhere. I really don't think I'm ever going to take this thing back out of the bag. I experimented with just having Furies, like this Glimmer Fury behind me is plenty overstable, more so than an Escape, but I don't really particularly like the feel of that Opto X blend. It's a little bit too stable for me, I'd say. This thing is just the most perfect neutral driver. I just can throw it on any angle and I know what it's going to do. So I love to throw this thing on turns when I want to put it on that turn and have it hold it without flipping too much. I love throwing this thing just straight and flat, having it go dead straight, flip up to flat, straight, and then kind of fade out. You can hyzer flip this thing. You can throw it on, I've thrown some incredible approaches from a standstill with this disc. It's amazing. I love this driver. It has so much glide, so much distance, but it's still so controllable and accurate on so many different lines for my arm speed. The Escape, just a basic stock Lucid Escape. It's got a white stamp, 169 grams, a little bit broken in, no real big pop top to it or anything, nor is it super flat. It's just a basic stock Escape off the shelf, and it couldn't fly much better. I love this thing. I really do. If I was going to go out and play around where I only got to take one driver, this would probably be it right now. Unless it was a really super long course and I brought a Thrasher, this would probably be the one because I know I can throw it on so many different angles. It's really tremendous. I love this thing. Okay, moving on to another mold that I got to review. I bagged it, then I stopped throwing it for some silly reasons, and now it is back in a big way, and that is the Latitude 64 Culvert. This one, I put a shampoo dye on this one. It's a gold line. It is, I think, let's see if I can see the weight on this thing. Yeah, this one's a little lighter too, 166 or so. I definitely have plans to pick up an Opto one of these as well to put in the bag as soon as I'm able to, but it's not really a huge problem because this 166 gold line, fantastic disc. I like this thing because I can throw it hard and flat. It won't ride over on me very much, and it will hook up at the end of the flight with a strong, you know, it's not super strong fade, but it's enough that I know it's going to happen and I can play for it. If I put this thing on hyzer, it holds it beautifully. If I need to kind of like punch through a gap low and kind of skip at the end, this thing can work really well for that. It's a great straight kind of overstable fairway type disc, but it still gets good distance. It really kind of is basically like the Escape, but much more overstable, so it won't turn as much. It'll fade stronger. I can really hit it hard and flat, and it won't ride over at all. This one's also gotten quite broken in though, so it's starting to fly a little bit different over time, but we'll see where it goes. But I do want to get an opto culverin to put back in the bag and test and see how it flies. This has been a really nice disc to have in the bag for those times where I just want to throw something flat, have it fly straight and finish, and it holds a hyzer really well. And it's overstable enough that if I check up on it, I can get it to kind of go sharp around a corner as well. So I really like the Culverin. It's a great disc. If you like something like an Escape or a Fury, but you want something overstable to complement it, I think the Culverin is probably one of the best options for you for that. So definitely recommend the Culverin. Well guys, you know what's coming next. There's only one distance driver in my bag right now. I'm throwing these for everything. That's it. You know, I don't have the Gladiator in the bag anymore. It's still available. If I was headed out on a day that I know it's going to be windy, it would come with me. But that's about it. You know, between some of the more overstable Thrashers that I have and that Culverin, and then at shorter range, the Anchor, I really don't need any overstable drivers. Just not something I ever use, to be perfectly honest. You know, everybody likes to have like a Firebird or you know, a really beefy distance driver in their bag somewhere for certain shots. I think that's smart, and I understand that you guys might want to do that, and it's not a bad idea if you have the room for it. But I just never find myself using those discs. You know, I carry the Gladiator, and for headwinds and times where I really need to go left, but I throw it, I don't know, once every couple of rounds, to the point where I'm like, do I really even need this? I can just kind of throw one of my more overstable Thrashers, check up on it a little bit, and get most of the same flight. So yeah, if it was windy, I'd probably bring out a Gladiator, but on regular days, I'm only carrying Thrashers, and these are my main go-tos that I work with, so let's take a look at them. The most understable, by far, is a 165 flat top, broken in ESP. This thing is extremely flippy, almost to the point where it doesn't even fly like a Thrasher. You know, it's so flippy to me. It's crazy, but it's kind of like a flippy utility trick disc. I can throw it for standstill hyzer flips that'll get good distance still. This is my principal distance roller disc. It's kind of like my Pink Fury, but just faster and at longer range. So I can throw this thing down on a hyzer, hit it hard, it will flip up, roll over, and hold it all the way down. So I can get long sweeping turnovers with this thing. But I only really use it for shots that I want to go to the right, or maybe like a downhill distance shot or something, because sometimes a flippier disc flying down the hill, it's easier to get it not to just fade out on you. So this thing can work well for that. It bombs, like it goes really far depending on the angles, but it's real touchy and extremely understable, so you really have to control this thing. If you had a big arm, I don't know what you'd possibly do with this thing other than rollers, because for me, it's extremely flippy. Just really unstable disc. So if you're looking for the most understable Thrasher you can get, flat top ESP in the mid 160s. This thing started off understable, and I've broken it in. It's really flippy now. Next, in stability, this one's actually getting a little bit too flippy as well, and pretty much needs to be replaced relatively soon, to be honest. This is my big Z Thrasher. This one I've been throwing a ton, and I've noticed the last few rounds with it, it's just really starting to turn a lot. It's getting really flippy and a little bit tough to control. It still bombs, but this one's getting close enough to that ESP that I'm going to probably have to get a fresh big Z Thrasher, hopefully over the summer. Huge distance on these big Z ones. They glide a ton, and I'm still getting good shots out of it. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's still flying good. It's just become a lot more touchy than I like. For the last couple of rounds, and like I said, I'm trying to throw a little bit more kind of flat shots, so this one will probably be something that just gets used for hyzer flips and turnovers when I want to kind of give it the angle, but it's probably getting to the point now where I can throw it flat and it's just going to ride right on me. So still an effective disc, and when they're new to slightly broken in, the big Z ones are probably amongst the farthest flying ones that I've tested. They glide for a really long time, so I love that one. Great feel as well. I got a couple of relatively basic Z ones. This one from Tyler Helmke sent me, this Barbarian Stronghold one. This one's a great workhorse flyer. I think it's max weight, 173, 174. And this thing just flies really straight. I can put it on a slight hyzer, it'll pop up and just laser straight. I love that one. And it's a little bit more on the stable side. These Z ones are kind of the best overall Thrashers for the average player out there. I recommend a nice, just max weight, fresh Z1 to check out. They're the best ones to kind of start with, and then you can try other ones on either side of it if you want to alter the stability a little bit. This one is pretty gummy and extremely grippy. It's got a little bit of a pop top on it. This is one of my more stable ones, and this is a big workhorse that I've been throwing a ton. So I know I can throw this thing pretty hard on that slight hyzer, and again, it'll tick up, maybe ride a little bit, but it'll finish out. I can throw this one deeper hyzer and get it to hold the hyzer quite nicely, so I love this disc. Might be my favorite one overall. One that I just put back in the bag and I'm really loving, and I'm finding I can throw it harder than the Z ones without having to worry about it quite as much, is this Glow ESP from the Ledgestone 2017. I dyed this one recently as well. This one was a gift from Andy, and it's a great disc. This is a max weight one, and the ESP plastic feels super nice. This ESP Glow, really grippy, and I can throw this one pretty much as hard as I want to, and it will go really straight. I'll put in a quick video. I'm not sure how much throwing footage I'm going to tack into this video or not. I'll probably put some, but I took a quick shot of me throwing this thing out at one of my more recent rounds, and I'm basically throwing it about as hard as I can, and you'll see it flies really straight. Love that disc. And then my most overstable one that I'm carrying right now, I have the Sparkle Ledgestone Glow Z Sparkle ones. Those are really beefy, but a little bit more beefy than I need. So I've been throwing these flat top, stiff prototype Thrashers from 2016. These are a great overstable run, just straight. I can kind of throw this thing nice and flat and it'll fly real straight and then fade. It's kind of like the Culvert at longer range. So like this one a lot. This is the one I'll throw if I wanted to really hold a hyzer, maybe up and over something. If there's a little bit more wind, I might step up to this one, or if I really want to try to hit it full power, I might throw this one as well. Good overstable run of Thrasher if you like the disc, but you want to try to find one that's a little more beefy. These are still pretty available. You can find these older proto Thrashers out there on the used market. I actually think Sun King actually still had some of those in stock new as well, which is pretty cool. So that is my in the bag for right now. We will see how long all of this goes on, whether or not I'm able to play any golf in the next couple months. Seeming quite unlikely, but that's okay. Disc golf, it can be pushed back to the back burner for a little while. There's a lot of other things in life. I'm going to still be posting content for you guys. I still have reviews to come out. I'm going to still be making videos like this here in the house, but it's going to be a little while until I'm back out on the course, but that's okay. We have bigger fish to fry right now. And you guys, I really hope you stay safe, healthy, don't do anything stupid. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Stay strong. Hit me up. I'll be around. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, you can leave them in the comments down below. If you want to leave a comment down below, let us know some of your favorite discs. You don't have to give us the whole bag rundown, but if you want to give us your top 5 or your favorite discs or your some of your go-tos or something like that, for sure leave it in the comments down below. People love to read about that sort of thing. Thank you so much for watching. I will check you later. Cheers.